Well, what do we have here? So I saw this on eBay and I just thought I might never have another chance to buy one of these, so I bought it. So this is a motor from a Packard vacuum cleaner, also manufactured by Clements, and basically the same motor as my Cadillac vacuum cleaner motor. The oiler on the back gives it away as a plain bearing motor. Clements did make ball bearing motors too. Here's my Cadillac motor. No, I haven't put the vacuum together yet. I'm still working on it. But the motor's done. As you can see, they're spitting image of each other. The only thing is the Packard motor doesn't have the wiring for a headlight. And the plastic on the brush holder is broken off. So the plan for today is just to get the motor in working order. Not really going to rebuild it like the other one. Not yet anyway. Cord's a bit longer. When I bought the motor, it looked like the metal was in really poor condition, but on closer inspection, it's really just surface corrosion and dirt. Here's the number plate for my Cadillac. This Packard is a model 1939. I don't know if that signifies the date or not. Also, the model number plate is exactly the same as the one on my Cadillac, including the patent dates. It's time for a test fire. I'm using the Variac only as a switch. I've got it set to 115 volts. Well, the old girl still has some life in her yet, but she sounds awful. And take a look at this. Somebody ground off the bottom of the motor to prevent it from rolling around on a table. I'll bet you this was used as a bench grinder. And this little coupling here suggests that it was definitely used as something other than a vacuum cleaner anyway. Let's try to get that off. It's pretty stubborn, so I'll just hit it with some penetrating oil and let it sit for a minute while I do other things. And now I'll take out the brushes. They're a little greasy, so I'll clean them with brake cleaner. I'm also going to mark their orientation as they came out and which side they belong to. Taking a look at the brush holder caps, they are actually different. I initially thought the plastic had broken off of one of them, but now I'm thinking it may never have had a plastic cover on that one. Ooh, did you hear that snap? That set screw was in there really good. I thought I was going to break my Allen wrench. And it surprised me by coming off super easy. It's probably because someone had the foresight to put anti-seize lubricant on it. I'm taking some light sandpaper, maybe 320 grit, and just going over the shaft to take any burrs or rust off of it, so when I slide the bearing off it doesn't gouge the bearing. I thought I'd clean off the numbers just to get a look at them. This one is 2204, the exact same as my Cadillac motor, and the number 6. I was quite surprised to find these decorative nickel-plated screws holding the bearing plate on. I was also surprised to find similar screws holding down the field coil. I initially thought maybe they had some extra decorative screws and used them on the bearing plates, but the field coil bolts are very long and unique. It's entirely possible this was their idea of tamper-proof screws in 1939. And just like my Cadillac motor, the armature is in surprisingly good condition. Also, the cooling fan blade is completely different. I thought I'd take one of these screws off just to make sure it is a normal screw underneath. And it is. I'm also going to crack the field coil bolts loose just to make sure they can come loose. And they can. Now I'm going to clean up the armature a little bit, just get the grease off of it. Now I'm breaking out the Scotch-Brite pad. I'm just going to go to town on the shafts and the commutator just to make sure everything's nice and clean and smooth. Look at the shine on that commutator. It's so smooth and flat, it looks like it's brand new. This thing has probably lived a full life as a vacuum cleaner, a full life as a bench grinder, and God knows what abuse, and it's still just like new. Now, I don't want to be the guy who says they don't make things like they used to, but man, they just don't make things like they used to. For the electrics, I start by measuring the length of the cord. It's 10 inches, and I eventually decided I'd make it the same as my Cadillac, which is like 7.5 inches, but I measured it anyway, just for the record. I take the wires out of the plug, and then carefully remove the plug because it's 80 years old rubber, and I intend to reuse it. It actually takes me quite a long time to dig the old wiring out. It was all really crammed in there. Alright, I just got back from the kitchen sink and I finished washing this thing. I made sure to get no water on the inside, but man, the outside looks so much better without all that dirt and grime on it. Now I can actually handle it with bare hands and not get filthy. Now originally this had black rubber cord, but I still have this 100-foot spool of decorative wire that I'm going to use on my Cadillac vacuum, so I'll just use some of this. Oh yeah, also stripping this wire is a process. I'm sure there's a better way to do it, but it's not like I do it every day. I still have a bag full of these rubber grommets, again because I bought all this crap for my vacuum cleaner already. And I thread the cord through the rubber grommet. I'm not using any kind of cord retainer. I used a hose clamp on my other one. I didn't have one at hand, and this isn't a complete rebuild anyway. Besides, the wire is pretty tight in there. I'm taking the plug apart now because I had cleaned it already, but the inside was still filthy with this nasty gunk, so I decided I'd just take the blades out of it. And I'll wire the brusher blades too to give a better electrical contact. And now it's nice and clean. The blades hold in with only one screw each, and then they have another screw on it that holds the wire to it. See this little bit of flex the rubber has? This is rubber, 80 years old rubber, and it still has a little bit of flex to it. Isn't that just amazing? I mean, a rubber band barely lasts a couple of years without getting all nasty and rotten. Okay, the wiring's all done on the inside. I got all the wires nice and tucked away so the little fan blade doesn't hit them when it's turning. And I used little tiny wire nuts to put the wires together just like I did on the other one. It makes it easier to service it in the future. Now I'm going to hit that back bearing with as much oil as I can get into it. And a little more oil on the end of the shaft. And it's funny, when I put the armature in, the back bearing is actually so tight that it won't allow any of the oil to seep out from around it. So I'm actually tapping the armature down on a bubble of oil that won't let it go down all the way. And again, for the front one, I try to pack as much oil in as I can. And I'm covering that one metal brush holder with electrical tape, just like somebody did in the past, so I don't accidentally get zapped. And it sounds worlds better than it did when it came to me. My work here is done.
Hey, if you liked this video, don't forget to like this video. Consider subscribing, and thanks for watching.